Should you save or should you invest? That's the question we're going to dive into in this video. Oftentimes those two words are sort of used interchangeably, but they really actually mean very different things, and we're going to take a look at that. So let's start with saving. So saving, more often than not, is looked at as like the first step towards building wealth. You have to save money and have positive money, that can aka be stocked into your treasure chest or whatever to build your wealth. Well, in terms of growing wealth, it's very used as a very short-term method. And I'll kind of show you an example of why that is. So if we think of saving, so what we do think of is basically, say I saved $100 this week. I took that and I put it in a bank account. Well, right now, bank accounts are paying you money to have your cash in that bank account, but they're not paying you a lot of money. They're paying you about 0.5%. So if you have $100 in the bank account, you made about 50 cents this year. So not a lot of money, and that's like on the high end. So that's like the best banks are paying 0.5%. So not a lot of money for keeping your money stocked in the bank, especially because banks can go out of business and things like that, and you could have your money tied up. So again, not a lot of return for that risk there. And especially if you factor in what's called inflation. So inflation, if you're not familiar with it, is basically the slow deterioration of your dollar over time. So the same reason like, a Coca-Cola cost 50 cents when your grandparents were your age, I'm sure they've told you that 1,000 times. That's inflation. So it's the slow, decreasing of the value of the dollar over time, where it's like I forget the exact stat, but since like 1920s, about 96% of the dollar has deteriorated. So, coming back to that $100 and that 50 cents you're earning, well, right now, inflation in our country is about 5%. So that basically means that $100, you're actually losing in terms of purchasing power and in terms of things you can buy, $5 this year. So that means that $95 is now what you have. So if you had that 0.5%, you basically made 50 cents, but lost $5. So you netted out negative 4.5. So by just saving, you're really actually losing money right now. And that's going to be the biggest difference between investing, is that compound interest. So savings, banks really don't pay you that much, so you have very minimal compound interest. And as you may have heard, the Einstein quote is compound interest is one of the eighth wonders of the world. And what it is basically when you make money, then your money makes money. So for example, say I have the $100 I invested in the stock market. Well, historically the stock market has grown about 10% per year. So let's say I put that $100 in, next year I have $110. The year after that, I made $11 on that $110. Then, which doesn't sound like a huge increase, but over the span of 20, 30 years, can add up and grow exponentially. So if you've ever seen those hockey stick growth sort of things, that's what you see with investing. So investing versus saving is a powerful thing. because let's kind of go back to that inflation aspect. So say I have my $100, that compounding interest is going to make that $100 worth way more each year than that 50 cents will or that 0.5% from the bank account. And also when inflation's factored in, say the inflation's 5% and the stock market went up 10%. Well, I'm still actually netting out ahead in investing. So my wealth is actually still growing, not going the opposite way. So that's why savings is kind of viewed as short term, because both are exponential. So as you start saving and losing money, more and more money, it's going to go faster and faster and faster and faster in terms of deteriorating purchasing power. Investing is the opposite way. It goes grow, and grows exponentially faster. So basically, that's again why you only want this short term. So if you think like 1 to 3 years, this would be like maybe saving for a down payment for a house you're going to buy in 3 years, or a vacation, or things like that. Any money that you don't specifically need for, say, an emergency fund or for a specific short-term goal, like, for me, I use like under 3 years, basically. If you don't need something for a specifically under 3-year goal, then you're really going to want to invest, because again, all your money in savings is going to be losing money to purchasing power. And banks right now just aren't keeping up. But if you're looking for a bank that can at least keep up in the short term, Ally Bank, Marcus Bank by Goldman Sachs, those are some banks that have some of the highest interest rates. But if you look on like bankrate.com or some of these other websites, basically just they'll list out what are the best banks and best highest interest rates. In terms of investing, we have other videos on how to get started investing and things like that. So make sure you check out those videos. But hope this was helpful in terms of thinking, changing that kind of wealth building mindset of thinking about your money differently and investing versus savings. But until next time, cheers.